Let's see. Hey, troops. Okay, I was just reading over the notes. I am going to answer some posts here from people that had questions about my Clobber Question video. If you don't know what that is, just hit pause, go back and look at that one because I don't want to have to explain it again. Let's start with the first guy who posted. Adam Key Sinclair. First off, I don't know why I said guy. It might not be a guy. I don't know. I'm just assuming. Sorry. And it's Adam. A-T-O-M. I mean, not Adam as in Eve's buddy. So, let me just read it. Christians and Judaism doesn't teach reverence to nature. Instead, you are commanded to subdue it. The operative word is subdue. Then he goes on to quote Genesis 1:28. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and every creature that crawls on the earth. And then Adam goes into saying a little bit more. I will get to that, but let's just deal with the first part, or the first third, I guess that is. Let's just deal with that. I got the impression from your post, and that's always the hard thing about posts. I don't know what your attitude was when you did this. I don't know if you were like, I kind of felt like you were doing this to me, but I'm going to assume the best and that you weren't, that you were just really sincerely curious. So I'm going to go like that. But your post gave me the impression you think that somehow this dominion or the fact that we can subdue things mean we can subdue the earth in a horrible way because, well, it's ours. My first response would be, it's not ours. Earth and everything on it still belongs to God. You can read that in Exodus 19, in Deuteronomy 10, in Job 41, in Psalms. There's two places. No, there's more than two. I'm just thinking of Psalms 24 and 50. Either way, there's many places in the scripture where God says everything was made for him, by him, through him, and for his pleasure and for his glory. Okay, not for ours. So when God gave the earth to us to subdue, we're supposed to be taking it over, but we're also supposed to be doing it as if we're made in his image. Remember what it said. I mean, you gave me verse 28. I'd like to go a little bit further or back, like 27 and 26. You'll read that we were made in God's image. So we should do things with that submission and that dominance that God would want us to do because we're his image bearers, that we're made like him. We're to be what he is. All we know about God from those 20-something verses prior is that God is in the creating business. He's not in the hang an animal upside down, slit its throat, and cook it business. He's not in a pain business. He created a paradise world, the Garden of Eden, where there was no pain, there was no suffering, there was no death. All we know is God at that point is everything was groovy and beautiful. There was no evil. So if a Christian's food choice is going to cause evil, if a Christian's food choice is going to pollute the oceans, is going to pollute the air, is going to, destroy the land, if it's going to destroy human health, and if it's going to destroy the animals, then it's pretty much a selfish and wrong thing. And you also got to take into consideration, remember, when God gave us dominion in verse 28, in the very next verse, verse 29, God said, we are to eat plants. And then in verse 30, he said the animals are to eat plants. So whatever dominionship and whatever subduing, submission that is, it has these vegan boundaries that were given to us in the rest of the chapter. You can't just take that one verse out and ignore all the beauty that he did prior and how he commanded us to eat plants after. You can't just say, oh, let's put this over here and just, we can barbecue a chicken leg. It doesn't fit. It just doesn't work. Let's look at the next part. I think I got another thought. That I want to add to that, to the Judaism and Christianity doesn't teach reverence for nature. I was just in Deuteronomy chapter 20. I always thought this was a fun verse. And dude, if you haven't read it, I think it'll crack you up. it says, and let me just read it. Here it is, 2019. I knew it was 20. I just didn't remember the verse number. I'm getting really bad at that. Okay, when you besiege a city for a long time, making war against it in order to take it, you shall not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them. You can eat from them, but you shall not cut them down. Are the trees in the field human, that they should be besieged by you? I mean, God's saying, take care of the land. You can kill the people, but don't kill the land. I always thought that cracked me up. Okay, maybe I got a weird sense of humor there. Okay, but also, when it comes to showing reverence for nature, that you said Judaism doesn't teach, I think it does. Right at the very beginning in Genesis chapter 2, when we get dominion over the land, that God says, all right, you guys are now my, let's just say, property managers of earth, because remember what I said a moment ago, that God still owns everything. We're just the property managers here. Okay? And we can do what we want, but we're supposed to do it in the way that's going to please the property owner. So when God gave us that in Genesis chapter 2, he said he put man in the Garden of Eden to cultivate it, to care for it. It's not to destroy it. If you're doing an activity that's going to cause a negative result like that to the earth, we're not doing what God commissioned us to do. So God wanted us to care for everything. There's another one that I looked up. It was in Psalm. Let me just read it again. Let me find it. Give me a sec here. Oh yeah, Psalm 24. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, and the world and all who live in it. Again, everything belongs to God. So yeah, humans are entrusted with the care of the earth, and it's our responsibility to steward it wisely and with reverence. So I think that we are supposed to take care of it. Also, going back and forth over the way you use the word subdue. Now, you wrote it twice in capital letters. So you really want me to see it, and it's key to your argument. I mean, or not your argument. I don't think you're arguing. I'm sorry if I said it like that. That didn't sound nice at all. But you did say in one of your sentences is the operative word is subdue. Okay, so it means something to you, and I'm not getting it. You go to Genesis 1:28, and then you quote it. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it." And then you got the, what is that? That's the dot and the comma. That's semicolon, colon. I don't know. I'm just a stupid juggler. I do not know I don't know proper English grammar, writing skills, whatever. All right, but it be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. And then after that, it says, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and every creature on the earth. Okay, so let's just deal over this. Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Okay, what is God telling us to do in Genesis 1:28? At that time, Adam and Eve, their job was to boink out little babies and make civilization. Because at this time, those were the only two people on the earth. Okay, they were living in the beautiful paradise known as the Garden of Eden, where there was no sin, there was no death, there was no suffering. Everything was groovy. It's the only place in the Bible where God put his seal of approval and said, yeah, this is the way he wants it to be. All right? So when he tells us to subdue it, I'm looking at your capital letters. When he tells us to subdue it, what do we know about it? Well, Adam and Eve are going to be multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. If subdue means what I think you're trying to say it means, that we can take animals and we can castrate them without painkillers or anesthetic, we can cut off their tails and break out their teeth, we can sexually molest them, we can lock them up in tiny cages, we can deny animals every natural behavior that God programmed into them, we can just treat them like crap because God said to subdue them. If you think that's what the word subdue means, then we should be able to do it to the earth and the children that we just created. Do you really think that we should be able to do all these negative, destructive, harmful things to the children and the earth that God put in our care? See, I don't think so. So I don't come out to the same understanding of subdue that you do. Subdue that you do. That rhymes. So I'm not getting your point. I'm just not getting your point. And then we can go further on this side of the, whatever that thing is, where it says rule over them. Okay, we get to rule over them, but if you read on, remember that verse 28 should not stand alone. Verse 28 comes after 27, 26, 25, 24. Okay, all we know in the verses prior to that is God is in the creation business. He is creating a beautiful world. He's creating birds that fly, fish that swim. Okay, He's creating a place of no pain, no suffering, no death. And then you're trying to tell me that the word subdue means all of a sudden, God didn't mean that we can kill things and eat them. No, and to prove my point, or more, or at least why I believe what I believe, is that's verse 28. Go down here to 29 and verse 30. Okay, 29 says plants will be your food, and 30 says plants will be the animal's food. So we have dominion, we are made in God's image, but we have vegan boundaries on all that, and somehow you're putting capital letters on subdue as if none of that is real, or it doesn't apply. I don't know. I'm not grasping it. I'm just not grasping it. All right, on to the rest of this post. And to finish this off, you say, however, Proverbs chapter 12, verse 10, a righteous man regards the life of his animal, but the tender mercies of the wicked are only cruel. Killing an animal isn't considered cruel if done for sustenance. This part I agree with you in. Thank you for quoting Proverbs chapter 12, verse 10. Great, great vegan line. Any activists watching this, please try to memorize that one. But you're saying killing an animal isn't considered cruel if done for sustenance. I agree with you there, but like I said earlier, it's not being done for sustenance. You and I can live long, healthy lives without eating any animal products whatsoever. When Moses wrote this, it was a whole different world. Remember, we're supposed to look at the who, what, where, when, and why of every chapter of the Bible if we want to understand how they understood it, instead of reading our 21st century view into it. Now, we don't need to eat animals to survive. You, me, most of the people watching this, you can go out your front door, drive in any direction, and you can get access to food from around the world. All right? You can get fresh fruits and vegetables and beans and nuts and seeds that these people never had access. We can get bananas every day of the year. They couldn't do this back in Egypt. So, taking into consideration the way the world is now, you have a choice. I have a choice, which is what the Clobber Question is about. The Clobber Question is, if you have a choice, what should you do? Now, if I had to kill an animal for sustenance so I could survive, so my family could survive, if it would save your life, I'd kill the animal to save your life. I'm trying to figure out why you don't see it that way. All right? We don't, maybe you thought all this time that we have to eat animals to live. We don't. All right? Even if you don't believe all those athletes I mentioned earlier, like I said, I'm an old man, and if I can work out 90 minutes a day, I'm nothing special. I'm not a professional athlete, but plants give me the strength and power to do it. I'm on no medications. My body is fantastic. Aside from when I fell out 20 feet off a ladder and I got a bad ankle because of it, I'm doing pretty darn good, but that's not because of eating bad. That's just because of me being stupid and climbing up a 20-foot ladder. So, yeah, I think I've already made the points earlier, but I'm going to keep going on this because I think you brought up something that gets answered in the same way. But being cruel for the sake of a dark heart is different. That's what you wrote. I'm reading this as I look over the camera edge, sorry. And I agree, being cruel for the sake of a dark heart is different, but if you're not doing it for sustenance and you're only doing it because you like the way it tastes, does that mean you have a cruel heart? I think you're telling me you have a cruel heart because, or maybe, probably even better, you just don't know. Don't know. Maybe you didn't know that you can live a long, healthy life without eating animals. You can. If you don't believe me, go to your favorite medical website and look it up yourself. I really would encourage it. I think, because if you're coming into this with with a heart full of light, you're looking to learn, and you're not looking just to find loopholes in the Bible to give you a reason to hurt animals. And as for your last line, eat as much meat as you like or don't. That sounded kind of rude. Sorry, man, but it did. And the thing is, as a Christian, I don't know if that's something you can say, because you know what? There's a victim involved in your food choices. There's an animal, a living, breathing, sentient creature that was made by the hand of the God that you and I worship. And you believe that it's okay to stab it in the throat and inflict it with as much pain as required just so you can get an affordable product that brings pleasure to your taste buds. You don't have to eat animals to live. This is being done because of humanity's dark heart. All right? So eat as much as you like or don't. No, a Christian can't say that. You have an obligation to do what is right, according to the book of James, chapter 4. You know what's right. To not do what's right, that is sin.